Hi, my name is Gavin from FE News,
Hello, I'm Katerina from Education and Training Foundation.
and we're here today to be talking to you around the FE and Skills Collective, which is coming up on the 10th of October. This is all around bridging policy and pedagogy. So, how can we prepare our educators and leaders for a stronger skills system? And we're going to be hosts, aren't we, Katrina? We're the hosts for the day, and we'd love to welcome you to the collective on the 10th of October. But Katrina, why for you is it really important to do the collective now and to have the multiple layers and the whole representation of the FE and skill sector? So colleges, training providers, awarding organisations, educators, leaders. Why does everyone need to come together now?
And that's the important word, the collective itself, Gavin. So it is an exciting time. It is about bringing all the voices, as you described, whether it is an independent training provider, an adult education community, a prison service, a college, a SEND and special provider, and actually bringing frontline practitioners and educators, but importantly also leaders in that critical role that we all play as part of a wider system. And the timing is great. We have a new government. It is an exciting time, an enthusiastic time to get into those early days of new policies as they come out. And we have heard that further education and skills in particular, even as a word in itself, is getting a very higher profile. But also we know we want to see a little bit more of the detail, and we haven't seen that yet, obviously. A great opportunity for the collective to come together and shape some of it quite early in that first kind of 3 months of new government.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's going to be just after the party political conferences as well. We're looking at this in sort of, we've been layering this. In the background, there's been so much going on, isn't there, around? There's been an announcement until there was like the summer break, literally every day, new language that we've been coming in, new announcements. But within that, there's been uncertainty. So, there's been a pause and review on certain qualifications, for example. There's been um, announcements around changes to the apprenticeship levy to being obviously the flexible growth and skills levy. But what does that mean? So we should be hearing more about that really soon. But as well, just before we recorded this, Katrina, you mentioned the disruption that's been happening across the nation as well, and the responsibility for us as a sector to be able to support that. So, what for you do you think is timing around all of those things all coming together, if you know what I mean? On
Yes, no, totally. I agree with you that there is a change in language that we are seeing and observing already. The two words that have come in my mind is the word of change, which has been a consistent word that is used across all departments of new government and also during the campaign of Labour. So that word, that change will come, and it will come at a pace, and it will come effectively. I think there is something about the effective, picking up effectively and driving things at pace. And the second word is building trust. And there is something about building trust in society, building trust in government, government building trust with its citizens. So there's a lot of those. Those are the two words that have resonated with me and I've heard quite a lot across government and across new ministers and new secretaries of state. On the latter point, I think we all have responsibility not just to call out, but to proactively look to actions and with a level of energy and awareness and encouragement to colleagues that suffer from discrimination in any of any type, but particularly around racism, because that's what we've seen over the last weeks. And although we've also seen last week an overwhelming response of love and hope from communities coming together in parts of cities and in parts of London, which was great and encouraging to see. Actually, systemic racism continues. And for me, there is something about in that collective, while we bridge that pedagogy and policy and bring educators and leaders together, how can we do that in an all-inclusive, positive, encouraging and hopeful way, moving forward to that kind of change and trust narrative?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that's a really, really, really good point, because there'll be so many learners, but also communities that are going to be really hurt, or it's brought up stuff from like adult learners that they would have experienced and hopefully never have to repeat again from long ago. And it's been a weird time, but this is where FE and Skills has always come in and bridged the gap and always tried their best to better to address this. If we can then also look at ourselves as well, it'll be kind of great to be able to do that. I think, really, really good point. And trust was what come out from the last collective, wasn't it? As
It
an
did, yeah.
outcome. And I think this is also the extension of why we want to bring everyone together. We've got this ideal sort of situation where we've got a new government where we can develop a new type of relationship, which is then built on trust. And I think bringing everyone together to be able to help understand what is happening, but also with the report to be able to feedback, this is what we see, I think is going to be, hopefully the start of a real next 5 years, and could it be 50 years of even better relationship with government, really. I'm really looking forward to it, actually. I think it's going to be like perfect timing.
And you can only bring that level of trust by that collective and active listening exercise. So I'm a true believer about bringing people together, that convening power of bringing the different voices, listening to the different perspectives, bringing a different lens. And I'm really excited, truly excited of working with you, Gavin, and with colleagues in shaping the program and the agenda for this event, in thinking of those different perspectives. So I think that's the beauty of the collective. And as you've said before, and I was listening to your conversation with Vicky over the last week about how the importance and the beauty of the collective is actually the unknown. The fact that because you're bringing all the different perspectives and all the different voices together, you actually don't know what the outcome will be, and you don't want to set it up front and say that's what we want to achieve. You want to just throw some questions and some areas of focus, and then hopefully it will all shape itself. It's a harder job for all of us to chair it and to then write it all up and share it back, but it is a much more powerful way of convening and building true relationships and trust in the system.
Yeah, 100%. So everyone, everyone is welcome across further education skills. Those that understand the importance of skills to the 10th of October, get your voice into the report and help shape what is going to be the future of the skills system. But we were talking a little bit and the planning for the agenda and what we're trying to sort of address. We're talking about three main areas, really. And like you said, skills has got a very much more important voice, it appears, and linking employability with the new government. And hopefully can this be this next stage where skills is also intrinsically linked with the industrial strategy for real, rather than lip service. But I think you covered a really interesting point around some of the broad areas we're trying to do around economic growth. I didn't know if you wanted to unpack that a little bit more, and why the collective has got good timing for what we're going through at the moment.
I mean, we know and we have heard, and you were looking at the evidence earlier, about the objective of this government to have a nearly 80% economically active citizens in employability terms. And if we want to drive economic growth and sustainability in that place, then we need a strong workforce, and skills is the answer. We must also remember that as our society progresses, we are now in a place where my son, who's 16, and I'm thinking about that kind of generation that goes to A levels, to IBs, to college at this point in time, at that age, they will probably be doing 15 to 20 careers. My dad only did one. I did probably 3 or 4. So I think we need to understand the complexity of that employability context, about how the young people that are entering now that sixth form, higher education, further education, employer, apprenticeship space, they enter it with the potential of never stopping and always learning. And that lifelong learning and skill kind of component is so important. And I suppose the way to describe it is that we are here as the only sector that makes social mobility true and live, because essentially we bring anybody up from the age of 14 all the way to 114 if they're still there active and want to learn. And I have to say, I did meet a 98-year-old learner a month ago who was in a sort of a dementia position for her own mental health well-being, was being supported through learning ceramics. And you know, that's part of further education and skills as well. So we have to remember that we are here to support anybody in terms of their employability, in terms of learning a new skill for their own well-being, physical and mental, as a hobby, to learn a new skill to support their progression in a career, or to come back to a career if they've left for whatever reason. I'm thinking of mothers or parents or people coming after retirement to back to work. So all of those very, very complex situations, but all of those together will offer that sustainability agenda and indeed that active citizenship that we all aspire to have.
Yeah, no, definitely. And if you look at the data, I mean, we've had the recent Office for National Statistics labour market data has just come out, and that was looking at April to June. So 80% economically active is the number that you mentioned, Katerina. Well, at the moment, we're on 74.5 between April and June, and these are like very, very, very fresh figures. NEETs, yeah, like young people not in education and training, the figures are pretty dire on that. They've not really sort of gone up much. They're sort of bubbling about. But there's also, if we're thinking about being inclusive, people that have a working age with a disability is around about 53% of people are in employment. So there's an awful lot to do. And I think the only way to be able to do this is not just look at, you know, employability skills, but it's got to go with skills, but also, like you mentioned, around linking that to the industrial strategy, but also what does that mean for local and national, and the sort of, we're sort of going to unpack that an awful lot more. But before I go into that, I think you made a really good point around, we've got an opportunity with returners, with, you know, people that have returning back into the workplace. We're at the beginning of the fourth industrial revolution. You know, there's, who knows, you know, generative AI is relatively new and how it's disrupted what is going on in the world of work. And everyone thought it'd be sort of factory or the sort of those type of roles to begin with. The things that have been really affected have been creative sector, which I didn't see coming, to be honest with you. And it's what does that mean for us and how we adapt? But I think you made a really good point around the high quality and the whole thing around lifelong learning can only be delivered if it's high quality, can't it? You know, and it can, and we want people to keep coming back. We want their customers. How do you keep coming back to learn and to adapt with the fourth industrial? So Katerina, you are the person to speak to about this around high quality teaching and learning, and what do we need to do all to come together to address that?
Totally. So if we want to achieve that 80% economically active citizenship, and if we believe that skills is the answer, how do we then make sure that everybody who enters a skills framework of whatever sort, whether it is through an apprenticeship, down at the pub, learning how to, you know, with an assessor next to them, learning how to operate in that environment, whether they are in a healthcare setting, whether they are sitting in a classroom, whether they're using AI to learn, whether they're using VR to learn, and any other mechanism from a one-to-one all the way to a multi-group global setting of learning. That high quality of teaching, that experience of that teaching and learning is the most important thing that will trigger retention. And I think we all worry about retention of the workforce. We forget how important it is to nourish the workforce through development, career progression, and professionalism, in addition to all the conditions and the working conditions and pay that are equally important. But sometimes we focus, I feel, way too much on one and forget about the other. And for me, the quality of teaching and learning lies in getting the best teachers first. And in order to get them in, we need to have an attractive offer to them. So I totally feel that this is important in terms of positioning further education skills as a career, and positioning the sector as that sector of social mobility that drives that economy and sustainability objective, but also in then nourishing that career throughout its life. So if you've decided for whatever reason to be a teacher, a trainer, a tutor, an assessor, a coach, a mentor in further education skills, welcome. But then how do we make sure that you progress? How do we make sure that you are always motivated, encouraged to deliver that high quality? So we need to have clear standards, which, as you know, the ETF standards provide as a framework. So these are the standards that all learners, all employers, all leaders of the system would expect of those educators that are out there supporting learners. And once they meet those standards, then how do we make sure that we have a great environment for them to flourish and progress in whatever way they want to progress? And I know some people often think that progression is only one way, from teacher to manager, for example, from assessor to a policy maker in assessment, but actually that's not true. There are excellent professionals and practitioners that stay in the same role for life, but they do it really, really well, and they excel and progress in that. And I've met equally people who progress very quickly from going from one area, let's say, of delivery of education to research, and equally from somebody who moved from one discipline to another, or somebody who stayed in the same role and excelled by improving the quality of what they do. And all of those areas of progression are all equally important, and we just need to remind ourselves about the key focus of professionalism and what it means to be a professional, and take ownership of that development with the support of the employer. So for me, this would be the second theme, Gavin. If the first theme is economic growth that we're going to focus on the 10th of October as a collective, the second thing for me is quality, and it is about how do we improve that pedagogy. And also in a systems thinking approach, if you want to think about a positive loop, as we've talked at the ETF publication that we did with Oxford Side and we launched a couple of months ago, a positive loop, or a joy loop, as Lou Mycroft calls it, comes when you have positive impact in one area. So if we want to aspire to have high quality teaching and learning, that will bring then more people with more interest in our sector. Bringing more interest to our sector raises the profile of our sector. Essentially, we are all talking collectively, and we're speaking and raising the profile of the sector. So we should be talking the sector up, not down.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And Lou's going to be at the collective again.
I know.
Facilitate. What I couldn't, for me, I loved going around all of the different rooms in the afternoon where there was the different facilitators drawing out all of that knowledge, all those ideas from people. I couldn't believe it. Lou's room was amazing. It was like a place of peace. It was unreal, and it was this really, really, really good. I 100% agree. You know, we didn't mention it earlier, but when we talk about this time of unknown and uncertainty, literally, as like sort of schools were breaking up, there was the announcement of an increase in salary for teachers in schools, but there was no mention of educators, teachers, trainers, coaches in further education and skills. And in a way, we've also got to have the dynamic of that dual professionalism, you know. So fourth industrial revolution, you don't want someone who's just sort of just done a quick Google on what is the future of AI, or what is AI, or what is data, or what are down to plumbing, you know. So it's like, you know, you need the expertise as well. So I think that's something which we won't go into depth now, because you need to come, people, to be able to share your knowledge and ideas on that. But I think that sounds really cool. And I get it is the beauty of having the collective, of having all of those different people all come together to share that, and again build that trust and trust with each other, and trust to the employer, to government, to the learner, to communities. Not too big an aim we've got here, but I think it's going to be great. The other thing I think which is interesting, we've sort of touched on, is timing again. For it's like we're looking at this from multiple angles and sort of creating a 3D sort of view, really, isn't it, around the importance of local, the importance of national. Just after the event, there's a massive international meeting of trying to bring trade to the UK around the industrial strategy. Again, amazing timing. So what is it for you, Katerina, around the timing and the importance of looking at local, you know, devolution, national, international, having all those different perspectives of leaders and educators all coming together to address this.
Very important for us to look at all those different dimensions, and you mentioned those three, and there will be more within them as well, because what is local, for some people it's just the institution where they're in, the education organization, it's just the college, for example, or just the independent training provider, or just that adult community center. For others it's a whole region. For others, in devolution terms, is wider than that. So I suppose there is something about us being ready to think as a collective, and thinking like a collective means that being able to put ourselves in different shoes and in different and bring different perspectives, and not just think always in one way, in one linear way, but think in that lateral and multi, if you like, way as well. So I would suggest that geography is one, as you mentioned, so the local, the devolution perspective, the national, the global, but I would suggest that also cross-sector perspective is another. And we talk a lot about tertiary education, and again there's a view with new government, an opportunity to look at things slightly differently, and not always talk in a very, very structural term about talking about a system only as part of one sector, but actually having a multi-sector approach. And I know I very much look forward to the 10th of October as a conversation of the collective that will bring that perspective. So, where does further education sit in the wider education system? We support employability and we lead skills, we lead social mobility. We talked about that earlier. But also, how do we sit vis-a-vis schools, vis-a-vis universities, vis-a-vis other employer-led initiatives? Where is our added value? Where do we collaborate? If we compete, why do we compete? Do we know where competition brings collaboration and partnerships? How can we bring that to become a more proactive, collective, and genuinely collective approach? So I would say, yes, there is a multifaceted, so I would encourage colleagues to come on the 10th of October with multiple hats, and both in terms of thinking, positioning ourselves as individuals and as leaders in our own right, both for our organizations, but also our localities, our communities, our country, globally, and then as part of a wider sector, cross-sectoral, and bringing perhaps the lens of an employer, bringing the lens of the learner we serve, bringing the lens of our community. So I would suggest that we need to almost get out of our body and be in somebody else's role for a moment, and just look at that from that lens. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. And on the last collective, that's what was moving towards, wasn't it? And there was this whole thing around everyone's opinion and voice mattered as well. And I think for those who didn't come to the last one, please, we would love you to come to this next one or be involved, because everyone's opinion and voice matters here. And it's not that you can't say anything which everyone's going to start throwing stones at you or whatever. It's not a head above the parapet stuff. I don't want to do it because I'm going to get shot down. It isn't that vibe, is it? It's all everyone together supporting each other. And I don't know if you wanted to share what you sort of found, like, because I was my favorite part of the last collective was everyone working together. I loved all the knowledge exchange in the morning and sharing ideas and coming at it from different angles and different people sharing things from different ways. But when everyone comes together, I got all a bit emotional. It was like really good to be able to see that sort of
I really loved last year, exactly as you described, Gavin, when I attended. And it was early days in my role at ETF at the time. So for me, it was also just entering that space in my first 3 months in role, and really, truly enjoyed how people came together in a very safe and inclusive environment, how they were active listening, because I think the most important thing in some of those events is to equally contribute and actively listen and support and encourage others to contribute. Loved the workshops in the afternoon. Agree with you that they were true workshops, because sometimes you have the title workshop and people turn up and one person talks for about 20 minutes and then you have like the 2 minutes left to ask a question and you never get an answer. And that was nothing like that. It was a genuine opening the floor and getting everybody to say that, to have their say. And then I think the beauty of it is how you and the team, and very much committed to supporting you with Vicky on that, collate then the different views and are
Yeah.
able to play them back and able to almost drive a way forward with suggestions, with recommendations and themes that come out. And I think what I like about the FE and Skills Collective is that it never stops. So you have the event on the 10th of October, which will be great to see as many of you as possible. But then actually the conversation keeps going, and there will be further opportunities, both from a media perspective, a publication perspective, and for the FE and Skills Collective to continue over the year until the next one.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Because we're going off on the extension. We're going on the shoulders of everyone what they sort of shared last time, but we just had a changing situation with timing. But it is all around trust, and it's about bringing people together and how do we improve the system, and how do we bring together educators and leaders and build that trust and take it forward. So I 100% agree. What are you looking forward to most about the collective and the outcome?
I do look forward to hearing the different perspectives, rather than hearing one perspective, if that makes sense. So I would encourage colleagues to come with very, very differing views, because that will be the beauty of us. I look forward about seeing colleagues that I haven't seen for a while and seeing them perhaps with a lot of enthusiasm. And I look forward to a strong narrative and a collective narrative, be it that it will differ in terms of perspective, and that's the beauty of it. And I think the networking is very strong at FE and Skills Collective, and unlike other events where you go in there too large and it's harder to connect with people, the beauty of FE and Skills is that its size allow you to spend more time and have deeper thinking, and perhaps some deeper conversations in the workshops than we'll have in other events, which are more about networking. I think FE and Skills Collective brings networking, but it goes a little bit deeper, and I quite enjoy that.
Yeah, it's a really good point. The amount of people that have fed back to me about, we've developed a relationship with X, Y, and Z, and then, this has happened here, and it has developed deeper relationships and closer working. So it's a really cool sort of unexpected outcome, but a good one, if you know what I mean, and stuff like that.
I should also say, Gavin, there is something infectious about your positivity and enthusiasm and how you drive this, and then the writing that follows up, and the videos and all the other kind of production that comes with it. The narrative is very positive and enthusiastic, and we need more of that, I think, in FE and Skills, and now is the right moment.
Yeah, 100%, and thank you. And I think but it's the collective. It's everyone who comes together to share that, haven't they, as well? And I just think it's just a different space for people. So if you don't want to come after hearing all of that, I don't know what's going on. Must be the unmovable of unmovable meetings that you got to be the only excuse not to come. We'd love to see you on the 10th of October, FE and Skills Collective. It's going to be a new location, Austin Court. Very cool. For me, I like to have light, space, greenery, and things like that. I just think it helps with the different zones for thinking. Really, the morning. If you didn't come last time, the morning is all what we call scene setting. It's a knowledge exchange. So there's different people sharing different ideas and expertise and angles for us to sort of come at things, as Katerina said, in a different sort of headspace. The afternoon, we're breaking into groups, and we're going to do it a little bit different. We'll have smaller groups with everyone is going to have even more chance to be able to share their views, because then the facilitator is going to feed back and feed into the report, and your voice really does matter. This isn't one where you're going to be on your phone sort of sitting there a little bit bored. This is an active, it's a total flipped conference. So we would love to see you on the 10th. We need your voices to be able to bring this together. It is not just one voice, it's everyone across all of as Katerina said, the whole of the FE and Skills ecosystem, from colleges, training providers, awarding organizations, community learn, prison, and how much is going on cool in prisons has got the opportunity to be amazing. But also work-based learning side of higher education, and what does that mean? What does this mean for us as a sector? We really want to just really come and look what it is. We don't know what the outcome is going to be. It's kind of beautiful. Meet some cool people that have all got a passion for FE and skills. If you can't make it, no worries. Well, I hope you're going to really enjoy the report, because it's going to be from everyone across the sector. But from me and my co-host on the day, although we're setting it up early for Katerina, we really look forward to seeing you. And I hope if you make it on the day, brilliant. If you can't make it on the day, please read the report and share it to friends, colleagues, and everyone that you can. And then just like Katerina said, let's try to get this movement going where we can help with the trust, the brand development of FE and skills, and what we do next. So we'll see you on the 10th.
See you on the 10th of October. Thank you
Bye.
all. See you then. Bye-bye.